Well, the bolt through the neck to the safety pin through the nose. Yesterday, we took a trip back through musical history to the birth of punk.
Yes, we heard what inspired some of the original fans and met others who've continued to follow their dream over the past 40 years or so. And we'll see some of the fantastic photos you've been sending in shortly.
Yeah, they're absolutely brilliant. Well, the growth of punk in the East was encouraged by a couple of places that were famous for staging gigs with up-and-coming bands. Matthew Hudson looks back at two legendary venues that became meccas for devotees of punk.
Excited young punks captured on film for posterity. But the bands and the fans photographed here weren't in London or Manchester, not even Norwich or Cambridge. This was West Runton Pavilion near Cromer, a venue with an extraordinary history. And the pictures were shot by local scene star Andrew Gibson. That's him on the left.
When you went to West Runton Pavilion, it wasn't just necessarily about seeing the band, it was actually going to West Runton. There was something about West Runton that changed all of us, even the punks amongst us. It wasn't just going there to see the band, it was excitement about going to West Runton. We're going to run tonight, we're going to run on the weekend. And everybody would ring round and say, you going this weekend?
The bands who played West Runton make up a who's who of punk. Yes, that's Adam Ant and Billy Idol. The Damned's Captain Sensible, minus his clothes. Add the Sex Pistols, The Clash, Bob Geldof's Boomtown Rats, The Police featuring Sting, and every other A-list punk band, and you have some idea how significant the venue was. Malcolm Bradwell was a teenage punk growing up in the village at the time.
We were listening to this music on John Peel and getting very excited about it all because it was just mind-blowing. It was exciting, new, different, you know, you could jump up and down to it, leap about, all that kind of stuff. And then they would come here and play in the village where I lived. I mean, how good is that?
Steve Sponn's Luton-based UK Decay twice made the long journey to the Norfolk coast to play.
West Runton certainly was right at the... We kind of called it the gig at the end of the pier or the universe, if you like, because it felt like you were driving... I think it was foggy one night we drove there, and we just drove endlessly. It seemed further away than Edinburgh or Glasgow was.
It backed onto the back of the building.
The pavilion's gone now, demolished to make room for homes. But its story has been recorded by local author Julie Fielder, whose father ran the door at shows.
They always got a good reception. The owner of West Runton Pavilion, Frank Boswell, was a great guy. He was very good with the bands. He had some contacts in London, I believe, but you know, that it was nice for the bands too because it was away from the London media.
Cambridge Corn Exchange is a very different venue. It's now known for hosting music of all types, family entertainment, even ballet. But back in the day, its massive walls echoed to the sounds of the Stranglers, the Ramones, the Jam and many others. The explosion of punk in 77 and 78, now recorded on a timeline backstage. I saw some of those shows, but not the night Cambridge punks The Users headlined here with 3 other bands, including one fronted by a future star.
There was a group called The Fall from Manchester, and they'd just got a EP out called Bingo Masters Breakout. He contacted Mark E. Smith, and they were up for coming down. Kevin Rowland had a band called, he went on to do Dexys Midnight Runners, but he had a band then called the Killjoys, who were on Raw Records.
John T. Young recently helped create a series of events called Punk in the East. He often travelled from Norwich for shows at the Corn Exchange.
It was actually a big venue compared with most other ones. I can remember people milling around outside more than the actual bands. I saw the Slits and the Buzzcocks there in about 1979 and then moved on through to Theatre of Eight and people like that. But the actual scene there was really good.
From rural Norfolk to working-class Luton to academic Cambridge, punk helped bring kindred spirits together and influence society while other youth fads died away.
So, beyond some great tunes and memories, what is punk's legacy?
Well, you have to remember that Britain in the 1970s was still a place of considerable deference to authority, where people knew their place far more than today. And punk was one of the factors that allowed a generation to say to authority, if you won't help us to do what we want, well then we'll just do it ourselves. Matthew Hudson, ITV News at Cambridge Corn Exchange.
Yeah, go headbang now, haven't we? Yeah, we're rebels.